Today, we tell you a story that fascinates and disturbs at the same time. It is the story of Lady Jane Grey. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel if you are interested in these videos on historical curiosities, and leave a like on the video. Now let's start. In the cold stone halls and among the shadows of the tapestries, a young woman with sad eyes and a cruel fate continues to be remembered even today. In just 9 days, he rose and fell like a star that shines too bright to last. A fragile crown, an unstable throne, and a tangle of power transformed his name into a tragic legend in English history. Lady Jane Grey was born in October 1537 in the heart of a turbulent England, where alliances of blood and faith determined destinies. Daughter of Henry Grey, Marquis of Dorset, and Lady Frances Brandon, Jane carried Tudor blood in her veins. Her mother, Lady Frances, was the daughter of Mary Tudor, Queen of France, and younger sister of Henry VIII. From a young age, Jane was raised to shine as a discreet star in the nobility's firmament. Her parents, stern and ambitious, had great plans for her. But in an age when approaching power also meant approaching danger, Jane was a silent pawn in a game she did not yet understand. While other children ran in the fields, Jane spent her days between books and religious teachings. Educated by great tutors, she learned Latin, Greek, Hebrew, and studied the scriptures with dedication. She was a young woman of extraordinary intelligence and deep devotion, the chronicles tell. But behind that studious facade was a lonely girl whose delicate hands never imagined they would have to hold the weight of a crown. The 1550s brought an unstable climate to England. King Edward VI, son of Henry VIII, was young and in poor health. The government was effectively in the hands of the regents, led by the ambitious John Dudley, Duke of Northumberland. As Edward's life drew to a close, there were fears at court that Mary Tudor, the king's half-sister and a fervent Catholic, might ascend to the throne and undo all the Protestant reforms. Fearing a return to Catholicism, and with his eyes fixed on power, Dudley devised a bold plan to place Lady Jane Grey, a staunch Protestant and a direct relative of the Tudors, on the throne. Jane, who was just 15 years old, was drawn into this plan without any choice. In July 1553, Edward VI died. Jane was proclaimed queen. She wept at the news, muttering that she was unworthy of the title, but she was forced to accept. From that moment on, her life was no longer her own. Her hands, accustomed to leafing through books, now held the scepter of a kingdom. On July 10th, 1553, Lady Jane Grey was officially proclaimed queen. There was no coronation, just a solemn announcement that resounded through the halls of the Tower of London. Dressed in royal robes, Jane sat on the throne, but her distant gaze revealed the knowledge that the crown did not belong to her. While the Protestant elite celebrated in silence, the people looked on with suspicion. Mary Tudor, realizing the coup, acted quickly and intelligently. She rallied her supporters and Catholic forces and marched on London. With the support of much of the kingdom, Mary advanced. Jane, isolated in the tower, waited for news. Every day, the silence around her grew deeper, until on July 19th, the bells of London rang out in celebration. Mary Tudor had been proclaimed the legitimate queen. Jane's allies vanished like shadows. In an instant, the young woman who had never wanted to be queen became a prisoner. After her deposition, Lady Jane Grey was held prisoner in the Tower of London. At first, the new Queen Mary showed compassion. Jane was too young, a victim of the ambitions of powerful men. Within the cold walls of the tower, Jane spent her days in prayer and studying the Holy Scriptures, waiting for a forgiveness that she believed could only come from God. However, in January 1554, a rebellion broke out, the Revolt of Thomas Wyatt. Although the aim was to prevent the marriage between Mary and Philip of Spain, the shadow of Jane once again loomed over the court. Fearing that she might again be used as a symbol by Protestants, Mary decided to act. When Jane learned of the death sentence, witnesses said she greeted the news with serenity. "If my death can allay your fears, so be it." On the morning of February 12, 1554, Lady Jane awoke early. Silently, she spent her last hours in prayer, writing in her book, "Lord, into thy hands I commend my spirit." Her heart, though firm, was heavy. Escorted to the scaffold erected in the tower courtyard, Jane walked with a light step. The cold wind cut the faces of the few people present as the young woman climbed the steps, dressed in a simple dress. She held the Bible in firm hands, as if she drew all her strength from it. At the top, she looked at the hangman and said in a calm voice, "I forgive you. Just do your duty and do it quickly." The silence was deathly. Blindfolded, Jane tried to kneel down, but in the forced darkness, she could not find the block. For a moment, panic overcame her strength, and she murmured, "What should I do? Where is she?" An assistant guided her hands, and Jane finally rested her head on the block of wood. The last image those present had was that of a calm, almost ethereal young woman abandoning herself to the inevitable. A single stroke of the sword ended the life of the 9-day queen. A queen who had never wanted to be one. Two women, two destinies intertwined by power, faith, and the ambitions of others. Lady Jane Grey, queen for just 9 days, and Anne Boleyn, second wife of the king who changed the religion of England, remind us how ephemeral and dangerous power could be for a woman in the Tudor court. Both educated, intelligent, victims of the plots of men who used them as pawns, they were ultimately sacrificed for political reasons bigger than themselves. But precisely for this reason, today they are remembered not only as tragic figures, but also as symbols of courage, dignity, and resistance in a world that did not forgive strong women. History has not forgotten them, and neither should we. That's all for today. And what do you think about this story of the English Queen? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you next time.